Okay, so we have AC, we have Chris, and we have Walker.
There he is.
Who do we start with? Let's start with Walker. You might be the big star of the night. Although you guys each starred in your own way, but you're the guy who was on the Jumbotron singing. Like, okay, so number one, the first game back, Saturday, they weren't letting fans on the Jumbotron at all. Were you guys at that game?
I was. They actually said they were going to do the karaoke cam, but they never actually got around to it. So, the plan was to do it on Saturday, but it just didn't work out. So maybe it worked out better this way.
Okay, so your idea was, I'm going to stand up, pretend I'm just really into this.
Yeah, you had like a makeshift mic.
Yes, the little clapper things they fold up that everyone uses as their makeshift mic. It works great to get on the Jumbotron.
Seasoned vet right
Okay,
here.
so you had to play. This is like a prank caller trying to reel him in.
Yes.
But they never did it on Saturday. So then yesterday's game, from what I understand, first half was also fan-free on the Jumbotron, correct? But then how did that go?
Yeah, it was it seemed fan free. The volume seemed a little lower. The volume on all the in-house PA on Saturday was just cranked. So some of the I'll call it the tamp down techniques they were using on Saturday, they weren't using them as much yesterday. Maybe because everything was pretty mild on Saturday. Maybe they weren't quite as concerned.
Okay, yeah. You say tamp down. They were tamping down like you weren't allowed to even – you couldn't wear a Fire Nico shirt. We know that. But you couldn't even put a piece of black tape over your Mavs logo.
You couldn't do that. They made it very, very – I mean, it's always loud in the arena, but even extra loud. So you really couldn't get organized. Any kind of Fire Nico chant. It was just getting drowned out. Nobody could hear anything.
I saw on Twitter that they kicked a 12-year-old kid out yesterday for trying to start a chant. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we weren't around to see that.
Oh.
Yes, we were the first ones out.
Who's that, Chris?
No, AC
Okay.
Walker. I think we were the first ones out, so we were the first ones escorted out. So we didn't see any of the other people get escorted out.
And what about you, Chris?
Well, we were very strategic with making sure that we weren't doing anything that was going to violate NBA code of conduct rules throughout the night. So it had been building through the night. I didn't really see anybody start to get kicked out until the fourth quarter. And then with about 2 minutes left is when I really started getting the Fire Nico chant going. And I don't know if you guys seen the video or seen anything I posted, but that's when Mark Cuban turned directly to me, pointed at me, and started yelling, "Sit down, sit down." And I pointed back at him and I said, "You sit down. You did this. It's your fault." And that triggered him. And he started yelling over and over again, "Shut the F up and sit the F down." And he was yelling it directly at me like 4 or 5 times. And I hope that somebody gets that video, because my video that I posted today, it's like 4.5 minutes, is all the interaction that happens after that. Right after Mark Cuban drops like 10 F-bombs on me, and I don't use foul language once. I'm not obscene one time. I don't do anything you can consider indecent one time during the entire game, not even during this time when security, Dallas PD. And here's the thing I got a problem with. They're so hostile and aggressive. They bully and target and threaten fans on Saturday and last night. They don't come up. They just the way that they do it is so out of pocket and so unnecessary. And there's no repercussions for them. If anybody violated NBA code of conduct rules last night, it's Mark Cuban for sure, 100%. There's no debate. Tim McMahon wrote his article on ESPN, which has it verbatim what Mark Cuban was yelling at me. Crazy behavior, and the arena staff, the team personnel, and Mark Cuban all violated Dallas PD security. They all violated NBA code of conduct rules last night. And I don't think any of us did that are here on this call with you guys.
So Walker and AC, you're both attorneys, correct?
Yes,
but
Correct.
Chris, you sound like one. It feels like you came in prepared. to make sure you towed the line but didn't step over it?
I've been going to NBA games for since the late '90s. I grew up in Southern California, so I've been going to Kobe Shaq games since the late '90s. I've had season tickets with the Mavs now, living in Dallas here for 4 years, and I'm just an NBA junkie. Like, not as how much I consume it, but just I love it. I've always loved it. I played basketball growing up, so it was just such a treat for me to get to Dallas and get to see Luka in his prime. And I was like, oh, we should look at tickets. Oh my gosh, I get to see all the best teams come to town, and I get to see Luka in his prime. And I just fell in love with the Mavericks, fell in love with Dallas and Luka. Taking the kids to the game, just everything you could imagine. And then Luka getting traded, man. But the point is, I know where the line is at. I've only been kicked out one time at a Dallas Mavericks game, and I've probably been to 100 games there, and I probably went to 100 games at Staples Center. So
what was the other time?
Wait, one time besides last night?
What was the other one?
Okay, so 2 years ago, I wore a Fire Jason Kidd shirt to the game. I did not get kicked out for it. They told me that I had two choices, and they were very hostile that night. They pulled me out of my seat because somehow I got a $30 ticket at halftime to get 10 rows behind the Mavs bench with my shirt, and I hadn't taken my jersey off all night. So I took it off when I got to that seat, and within 2 minutes, security came up to me, removed me from my seat, and I just went to the concourse with them. That's the mistake, is just being like, okay, guys, yeah, we could talk out in the concourse. What do you want to talk about? It's game over at that point. But they just said, cover the shirt or you're getting kicked out for your shirt. And so I just covered it. I said, I want to watch the game. I watched the rest of the game. Same thing 2 years ago. Me and three buddies, we had tickets in the lower bowl. My seats are good. You see from the video. But we had seats. We snuck 2 rows behind Nico. And this was back when I was doing my Fire Mark Cuban bit, right? This was when he was still the owner. I would yell out at the game, maybe 2 or 3 times a game. Every once in a while when it would get quiet, I would say, Fire Mark Cuban. And they had warned me several times. Well, we snuck down to the 5th row and we were 2 rows behind Nico. And the first time it got quiet in the arena, I stood up and yelled it as loud as I can. And my voice carries so far in that area. I have the timing down. 25 years we've been putting this work in, And because it was right by Nico, they immediately grabbed me. And because we were not in our correct seats, that's where they had us. So I begged him and I said, look, I'll leave. I'll take one for the team. Don't kick my friends out. It's not their fault. Let them sit in the seats that they had purchased, in my seats, and I'm sorry, and I'll leave. This was in the first quarter. So I took one for the team there because I didn't want to ruin my friend's night.
Some may say hero, but we'll leave that to the public. So for AC and Walker, the first interaction is the Fire Nico during karaoke. And then you also had signs, right? So just kind of you guys walk us through.
Well, the Fire Nico thing, too, was you just lip-synced it, right?
Just lip-synced it, right. But it showed up on the Jumbotron. So how did things unfold from there?
Sure. So after doing the bait and switch with Whitney Houston and getting the mouthing the Fire Nico, we did have signs. I originally I tried to bring signs on Saturday. We had I had similar ones. I made them, and they wouldn't let them in the door. I had to unroll them, show what they were, and they said those aren't coming in. So those got trashed. So this time, I made just generic Go Mavs signs, and one said PJ. We got them in. They made it past security, and then took my handy Sharpie and added a little extra to the backside of them, the Fire Nico. And then we kept them rolled up until the appropriate time. And then we waited in the 4th quarter. We didn't want to be a distraction. Again, just like Chris, we wanted to abide by the code of conduct. We weren't profane. We weren't obscene. It wasn't a personal attack on Nico. We wanted to do it at an appropriate time. We waited till the Kings were shooting on our end. And then finally in the 4th quarter, we decided it's time and unrolled them, held them up, and you've seen the rest. After that, the ushers came and pretty quickly confiscated them. As you can see in the videos, we cooperated. We pretty willingly gave them up, and we thought, okay, well that's that. And then about 5 minutes later, security came and said you need to head up the stairs, and that was our night.
And do they just walk you outside, or is there a little roughing up? What are we doing?
You pick your battles, and that was not going to be one I was going to win. So we went willingly. We cooperated. We went right on up the stairs. We went out the nearest exit, and when I was outside the building, the door was still open. I said, "Hey, why are you doing this?" And they kind of laughed, like, "Are you serious?" I said, "No." So I anticipated this, so I read the old back of the tickets and the terms and conditions, and basically the Mavs can do whatever they want. Anything they deem inappropriate in their sole discretion is inappropriate. But I wanted to hear it from them, from the security guy who probably hadn't read the terms and conditions, and he just said it's a violation of NBA policy. So I said, "Well, which policy is that?" Being the smart-ass lawyer that I can sometimes be. And he kind of was getting worked up about that. And that's when I decided, you know what, it's not worth it. And that was how our night ended.
So I wanted to go back to the karaoke thing because I thought that was just pulled off brilliantly. Are you normally karaoke guy? Did you see this as an opportunity? Because I don't know, you sold. We love when people get pranked, and you knew how to pull it off, and respect.
I am not karaoke, but I've been coming to games for a long time. I've had season tickets in that area for 9 years. Before that, AC and we would go to games in that section since 2004. So when you're in certain sections, you see people get on camera, and just you go to enough games and you see what gets on camera. And there's always a camera on the baseline in that section, and they're pointing up. And people all around always get on camera. I'm not that type of person. I prefer not to. But I've seen enough, and you know how to get on. And you just kind of crumple up your clapper stick. You stand up and you sing and belt out the song, and you're probably going to get on camera. And that worked perfectly.
Did they say anything to you about the Fire Nico thing from earlier in the game?
No,
okay.
Not a thing. In fact, we were a little surprised at that.
They may have pinpointed you then and then been looking for it, but who knows?
So wait, the Fire Nico sign was previous to that?
After. No, it was after. So we did the karaoke was the third quarter, and that's why we waited for the fourth quarter. We wanted it to be towards the end of the game, only when the Sacramento people were shooting the free throws, and that's why we waited again for the perfect time as not to be disruptive.
So as far as other chants, and any of you guys can weigh in on this, I can start with AC. Just in general, were there other people around you? Could you hear other chants? Like, what did any of them get off the ground? A buddy of mine who was there said because Dumont was sitting with Sports Mayor and Rick Welts, and a buddy of mine said that when Dumont and Sports Mayor returned to their seats midway through the third quarter, there were a lot of boos.
There were boos, and we made it important not to boo. We didn't want to boo the players or anybody else or anybody specific for the team. We cheered for the teams. We cheered during the opening introductions. We would only boo. I think the only time Walker and I booed was when we got ejected or maybe when Dumont came by. But otherwise, we were respectful for all the other people. A lot of the chants we heard were like pro Luka, like Luka or Luka, and there were a few of Nico. But otherwise, nothing derogatory. And but they always really stamped out those chants. Nothing really got going wide in the statement at all.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's important to say is that we were respectful of the players. I was cheering for the Mavericks when they were scoring. I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving them the we're doing it, and we were respectful. I will say I think one of the reasons Cuban got triggered was that at the end we did get the Fire Nico chant going during the Mavs shooting free throws, and some people will disagree if that's okay or not, and we'll say, hey, cut the players a break, don't be like that to the players. But I think that Nico and Cuban and the staff put us in this situation, so now I have to apologize. I'm saying that was the only time it was quiet because they're purposely trying to drown people out. So if that's the only chance that I have, and my homie Garrett just showed up because we got the news coming over later, and he was with me at the game. He actually just walked in right now. But I will tell you that the first time Kyrie shot free throws, I looked at him and I said, I'm not going to yell anything right now out of respect for Kyrie. He just made his 9th All-Star. I love Kyrie. I'm not going to say anything right now because I was doing a bunch of Luka. If you heard any Luka chants, it was coming from me in my section. I was yelling, put in Luka. Out of respect for Kyrie, I did not do it during his first free throw. But then later on, it got quiet during a Kyrie free throw. And I just said, look, I gave him his pass earlier. And there was one other guy that shot free throws his first time. And I said, I'm not going to do it right now out of respect because he's a baller and I love his game. When the time came at the end of the game, it was go time, and we got the Fire Nico chant going, and that's what triggered the Mark Cuban thing. And I think it's important, if you have not seen my video that I posted of my interaction, within the first 10 seconds of my video, security tells me, do you want to walk out or get dragged out?
Yeah.
That's the first thing they said after my interaction with Cuban. And then you can see in the video over and over again, they're threatening me with going to jail, saying you got 2 choices. And I just, now look, was I being dramatic in the video?
See, I was going to say, listen, they're definitely heavy-handed.
I'm enjoying myself so much, man. It's so much fun to be there. So when I start look, I am type 1 diabetic for 35 years. Don't get it twisted. But obviously I'm trolling a little bit and just having fun. That's part of the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
but,
you went full like civil rights protester towards the end, and I'm like, hey, look, everyone do their part.
I promised my wife that I was not going to get arrested, and these guys said that they left and they complied. And I think that's what happens is they bully fans. They'll just come up and be hostile and aggressive and just say you're out, and most people don't know how to react, and they're just like, okay, I guess I did something wrong and I have to leave. And I made a stand last night and I said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not leaving. And right up until I actually thought dude was about to maybe pull cuffs out, I could see it in his eye that maybe we were at that moment. I was like, okay, maybe we could slowly walk out.
We all know.
Point, you know what I mean?
We all know that moment. So have any of you been contacted regarding the future as far as your status in the game?
Like banned for life?
Banned, anything like that?
I have not been.
In fact, that was actually my number one concern, and probably why I did back down is I enjoy going to games. I love going to games. Been doing it for years. I don't want to, I'm not one of the people who's going to go cancel tickets. So as of this morning, Wednesday's game still loaded up in my app. So hopefully it will continue to do so, and the ticket will scan tomorrow. But no one's reached out to me yet.
No, and I haven't heard from anybody either.
So I
expect to though.
Yeah,
I was obviously following these situations pretty closely on Twitter, and I think somebody posted a video of the arena, and it was pretty empty there towards the end, and some people were saying it's because a lot of fans were getting escorted out. Did you guys notice that?
I don't know if it was a ton.
Matt, not a lot.
Okay.
Again, I think we were the first ones out, but I didn't notice just a file of people of security dragging folks out.
Some of that could just be a late Monday night game, but, I think people on Twitter were trying to make it seem like security were just sending people out in waves.
You guys
No, it was empty because it was a Monday night against Sacramento with no AD, and they just traded Luka. So, nobody wanted to be there. Everybody, I think, at the protest and Saturday got a lot of their feelings out, and we all thought we were over it until Patrick Dumont wants to make that statement and just completely reignited the storm. And I think that there was a lot of that energy in the building last night, and deservedly so. They deserve everything coming their way, every bit of it. Them, Tim McMahon, they could all get it.
Was Nico in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Nico did not get in his seat. I know where he sits because remember the story earlier. I was checking his seat all night, and we're far enough away. I couldn't yell anything that would ever reach him in that seat.
He was at the game.
But him and Finley did not go sit in their seats, and they have not shown their face in those seats yet.
Okay, because Dumont did. I read Sportsmare was sitting next to Dumont.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got booed when they walked back in. Nico was on the floor before the game, but he was not in his regular seat.
Yeah, I fully expect that I'm gonna hear something, even though I thought that with the fired Jason Kidd shirt 2 years ago, and they never said anything to me. Um, but like, I hope that I do enough of these podcasts and interviews today that I shine enough light on how the fans have been treated, and that includes me. I think that maybe there's enough spotlight there where they feel like they can't just rip my tickets away from me, because I think they would be hard pressed to show where I violated any rules for the AAC or the NBA code of
Well,
conduct.
it's like he said, though. It's written in such a way that it can be applied very broadly, right? And they can say anything, which is a can of worms that I find interesting, because what if you just boo an opposing player? Like, what if a player had forced his way out of Dallas and you wanted to boo him when he comes back? What if a coach that you didn't? I mean, hell, my point was Cuban has made a name for himself as a guy who yells at referees. Guys who are at a sporting event doing their job, and he's yelling at them all the time.
So there could be different rules for Cuban?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it makes me think so Cuban did say,
100%.
somebody emailed him and he said, LOL, the arena was booing the guy while the Mavs were shooting free throws, while we had the end of the ball had the ball at the end of a close game. If you don't think I would do something to protect our players, you don't know me at all. So I can get trying to make a difference between who's at the line and who's not. I think there should be chants every single time the opposing team is at the line, for sure. But what if you just started chanting, "We love Nico"?
Right. So, like, that's the point I made. If I was to say, "Let's go Mavs" or "Let's go Kyrie," and I did it loud and I did it in the exact same moments of the game that I did it, they would encourage me and applaud me. But when I say something else, then it's different. So I actually don't think they have a leg to stand on for kicking people out, even with the vagueness of the rule. I really don't. I think, sure, they could look at it and just say, "Oh, you were disturbing" or whatever. But like, I don't think they can just point people out and say, "Hey, we don't like you. You can't be here anymore."
Yeah, it's a bit much. Go ahead, Dan.
It is not a right to refuse service type of situation. The NBA has written rules for how NBA fans are supposed to conduct themselves. You can look it up word for word. And I dare them to find where I violated a rule within the NBA code of conduct.
Well, no,
I don't think that they can.
I'm kind of with Walker. He is a lawyer, and he's like, yeah, they could probably can. But
I sound like a lawyer.
Yeah, no, you do. So, no, Walker, I just want to say something to Walker before. I think you might have a hard out here in a minute, but I'm not sure.
I'm okay for a few minutes.
Okay, you don't have a trial to get to, but what do you guys like? Are you guys thinking? What are the thoughts on when Luka comes back? Because I know Jake is already planning to go to that game, and like even if this thing dies down, I feel like it'll get just as big, if not bigger, when Luka's back.
I've thought about that, and I'll be honest, I don't know what my response is going to be. Certainly I'll cheer Luka. Am I going to boo the Mavs then? It's going to be hard. I mean, I'm mad and upset now. Will I be this mad and upset in 2 months? I don't know. And I'm not sure what the arena is going to be like. I think this was, I think this gives them a good idea that there weren't a whole lot of protests, but you heard the boos. And so there is that pent up energy. So is that going to come out on April 9th? I don't know. By the way, I will say to your previous point about the tickets, what y'all are doing is the best thing. That thankfully attention's been brought to this, and they're getting a black eye in the media. So hopefully, losing the PR battle is going to keep them from retaliating. But yeah, April 9th, Jake, I can't wait for my leader here to tell us what to do.
Yeah, we have some time to work on it, but I think people who have calmed down will be pissed off again once it's a couple days before and it's all anybody's talking about. And who knows? The trajectory of the way that this story has developed over the last 9-10 days, there's going to be more stuff they do that upsets us. They're not done pissing us off. But my thought is MVP chants anytime the guy has the ball, for starters. And I just don't see how they can stop 17,000 people in unison from chanting "Fire Nico" or "Sell the team" every single time the Lakers are at the line. No matter who from the Lakers are at the line, that's the time you do it. To me.
That's what it's got to be. It's got to be the strength in numbers. It's easy for them to pick off, AC and Chris and me and a few here and there, but it's got to be that strength in numbers.
And it's got to get to the Lakers fans, right? They'll help us with this because there's going to be a ton of Lakers fans there either way, probably more now, and probably you won't be able to tell because I'll have a yellow and a purple and gold on 77. It has to be Lakers fans as well. You get your Nico and your ownership shots in any time they're at the line. How do you stop that?
Yeah, no, I mean, what fake lawyer Chris and these real lawyers are saying is like, even if you, like in theory, the Mavs could say you can't wear a Lakers jersey into this arena.
Right. You can't. Do you remember, somebody brought this up to me this morning. Do you remember how much we were encouraged to go after DeAndre Jordan when he came back here? They were letting you get away with anything that night. And now?
It was brutal. Every time there was a stoppage, if he went to the free throw line.
Yeah, you were probably there.
Merciless.
Yeah. Chris is muted, or he's talking. You want to wrap up with him? There you go, Chris. Let's see. Now we lost his audio.
Yeah, we lost your audio for some reason, man.
Oh, well. You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Fighting the good fight. We appreciate you.
No, very creative. Way to get that sign in. I wonder if they're just going to confiscate all signs on Luka night.
Yes.
Because
that's what we're thinking. There's just no signs at all because they'll know how to sneak them in. And so we appreciate you guys offering us the forum to get out our side of the story.
I mean, maybe AC.
They might be strip searching because I
was going to say, maybe a smuggle thing. Your body can absorb a lot more back there than you think.
Yeah. Jake found that out the hard way.
You mule it.
I was thinking we need 8 guys. So we got you 3. We need 5 more. You do you paint your chest, the FIRE and all that, and then you just fire off shirtless.
I'll do it.
At some point in the game, and you're going to be escorted out, but I do think what you guys did just keeps the spotlight on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it raises awareness. And you are the heroes.
This is actually a raise on awareness I can get on board with.
That's right.
All right, you guys.
I've been shirtless with the numbers on before at a sporting event, so I'm there. If we're doing it on April 9th, I'll be there.
For some reason, that doesn't throw me off. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course this guy's been shirtless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been fun, Blake.
You guys are great.
Yeah.
Heroes.
Hey.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there's Walker, Chris, and AC.
Walker told me he got kicked out.
That's right.